There are many conspiracy theories on the internet. Some are small, some are weird, and some are so unbelievably ambitious that if they were actually real, humanity should honestly just give the conspirators a round of applause. Because today's conspiracy is not about a local mayor taking bribes. It is not about a corporation poisoning the water supply, no. Today we are talking about the alleged existence of Jewish space lasers. Yes, actual orbital death beams, controlled by shadow elites, apparently capable of starting forest fires from space, which raises one very important question. How would that conspiracy actually work? Because if we are taking this theory at face value, then someone has to design the laser, launch the laser, power the laser, maintain the laser, hide the laser, coordinate the laser, and somehow stop the entire aerospace industry from leaking the existence of a giant murder satellite hanging above Earth like the Eye of Sauron. And honestly, that sounds less like a conspiracy theory and more like the plot of a rejected Metal Gear Solid game. So today, we're going to break this conspiracy down seriously. What exactly would have to happen on the ground for this conspiracy to function? How many people would need to be involved? How much would it cost? Does the technology exist? And most importantly, if you actually wanted to secretly start fires from orbit, would there be a cheaper way to do it? Because economics matter, even to supervillains. Now, before we start calculating how much taxpayer money the Illuminati apparently burned on orbital Judaism, we need to define the actual claim. The conspiracy associated with Marjorie Taylor Greene, revolving around the idea that powerful elites connected to solar energy companies, California politicians, wealthy interests, and Jewish financiers may have intentionally caused California wildfires using space-based solar technology. And when internet people heard wealthy elites, plus space technology, plus wildfires, plus Jewish banking families, the internet collectively transformed it into Jewish space lasers. Because the internet processes information like a drunken raccoon with Wi-Fi access. Now, if we take this theory literally, the claim is not just someone started a fire. The claim is a coalition of financiers, aerospace organizations, politicians, utility companies, defense contractors, satellite operators, and intelligence agencies all coordinated to secretly deploy orbital energy weapons in order to intentionally ignite fires. But why? Well, depending on the version of the story. The alleged motives include forced land acquisitions, increased utility profits, manipulating insurance markets, pushing green energy infrastructure, political destabilization, or enriching connected corporations through reconstruction contracts. Already, this operation sounds less like a conspiracy and more like a hostile corporate merger sponsored by Darth Vader. But here's the issue. Every conspiracy has a logistical cost. And the moment we start calculating the logistics, things get insane very quickly. Because if you want to secretly ignite force from the orbit, you need a launching vehicle, a weapons platform, power generation systems, targeting systems, software systems, ground communication infrastructure, and enough secrecy from stopping one random aerospace intern from leaking the entire operation on Discord, which historically speaking is basically impossible. Now this is where the conspiracy completely mutates into a bureaucratic nightmare, because people underestimate how many workers are required to make advanced systems function. A modern satellite program is not built by 3 evil billionaires smoking cigars in a volcano. It requires armies of normal people with LinkedIn accounts. Let's break this down. To build an orbital wildfire laser, you would need research and development in stage 1, laser physicists, thermal engineers, aerospace engineers, software engineers, weapons specialists, material scientists, orbital mechanics experts. That alone is probably several hundred highly specialized workers. And these are not just random dudes. These are people with PhDs, defense backgrounds, research histories, security clearances, and professional reputations. Then comes manufacturing in stage 2. Now you need semiconductor fabrication plants, optics manufacturing, satellite body construction, rare earth mineral supply chains, battery manufacturing, communications hardware, meaning factories, real factories, factories with payroll departments, inspectors, shipping manifest, accountants, subcontractors, thousands of people. Then comes launch infrastructure in stage 3. What you need is launch facilities, rocket fuel production, payload integration teams, aviation regulators, and satellite tracking coordination. Brother, you cannot hide a rocket launch. People literally livestream SpaceX launches for fun. And even if we somehow pretend the launch was hidden, the satellite itself would still need to be tracked, calibrated, updated, and monitored. Meaning you need satellite operators, cybersecurity teams, intelligence coordination, communication arrays, and maintenance systems, at the very minimum. This conspiracy likely requires several thousand people directly involved and potentially tens of thousands indirectly involved through supply chains. And somehow every single one of these people remains perfectly loyal forever. Meanwhile, government employees leak classified documents because they're bored and 22 years old. War Thunder players leak military secrets over tank augments. And somebody at Area 51 probably has a podcast. The secrecy required alone makes the conspiracy borderline non-functional. Now let's talk numbers, because conspiracy theorists love pretending money is fake. It's not. Even evil organizations need accounting departments. Let's calculate this. A modern advanced military satellite can easily cost between several hundred million to multiple billions of dollars depending on complexity. Now add high-energy laser systems, advanced optics, orbital stabilization systems, cooling systems, hardened electronics, classified research, and stealth logistics. This thing is no longer a satellite. This is basically the Pentagon's favorite child. Research alone would realistically cost billions. Then manufacturing. Specialized aerospace manufacturing is incredibly expensive because every component must survive radiation, temperature extremes, vibrations, and vacuum conditions. Then comes launch costs. A heavy payload launch can cost anywhere between $50 million to several hundreds of millions of dollars. And realistically, you would probably need multiple launches. One for the platform, one for the power system, one for support infrastructure, maybe additional communication satellites. Then comes operations. This satellite would require ground station, analysts, software updates, encrypted communication systems, orbital corrections burn, cyber security teams, meaning annual operating costs potentially are in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And remember, this operation is allegedly designed to start a forest fire. Forest fires. You know what else could start a forest fire? A dude named Kyle with gasoline, a lighter, and unresolved emotional issues. According to federal arson cases, intentional fire setting operations can cost as little as a few $100s. You do not need orbital weapons, multinational coordination, aerospace mega projects, and the GDP of a small country. Economically speaking, this conspiracy makes absolutely no sense if your goal is to simply burn forests. Then paying local actors directly would be infinitely cheaper, infinitely easier to hide, and infinitely more reliable. Real convert operations prioritize simplicity, deniability, and low visibility. This conspiracy does the exact opposite. It's like trying to rob a vending machine with an F-35 fighter jet. Technically impressive, operationally stupid. Now to be fair, space-based energy weapons are not entirely science fiction. Governments absolutely research direct energy systems. The United States, Russia, China, everybody wants laser weapons. Because missiles are expensive and militaries love anything that sounds like it belongs in Halo. But this is a gigantic difference between experimental military laser research and secret wildfire satellites controlled by global elites. The biggest problem is energy. Lasers are power-hungry monsters. To ignite fires from orbit consistently, you would need enormous amounts of concentrated energy. That means massive solar arrays or potentially nuclear systems. And if somebody secretly launched a nuclear-powered orbital laser platform, congratulations! This is now one of the largest engineering achievements in modern history. You will also run into thermal problems. Lasers generate heat, a lot of heat, and space is terrible at getting rid of heat. Movies ignore this. Physics does not. Physics shows up with its steel-toed boots and starts kicking your engineering teams in the ribs. Then comes targeting. You are trying to hit a moving target from a moving satellite through a moving atmosphere. Cloud interference, dust interference, smoke interference. The Earth rotates. The satellite moves at thousands of miles per hour. This is unbelievably difficult. Like, genuinely difficult. If someone secretly solved all these problems, forget the conspiracy. Humanity should honestly be more impressed than angry. Because apparently somebody built the Covenant from Halo while the rest of us were arguing on Twitter. Now here's the funniest part of the entire conspiracy. If your actual goal was starting a forest fire secretly, there are dramatically easier methods. You could pay local arsonists, sabotage electrical infrastructure, exploit drought conditions, use drones, use timed incendiary devices, or manipulate forestry management policies over a long enough time period. All of these options would cost less, require fewer people, create less evidence, and massively reduce operational risk. This is one of the easiest ways to evaluate a gigantic conspiracy theory. Ask, why are they choosing the most expensive and complicated method imaginable? Because real converts operations are usually boring, efficient, cheap, and compartmentalized. Not anime villain, orbital, super weapons. And that's ultimately the problem with massive conspiracy theories. The larger the conspiracy becomes, the more impossible the logistics become, because reality is not a movie. Complex systems require labor, money, infrastructure, maintenance, coordination, and secrecy is expensive. Very expensive. Now, does that mean conspiracies never happen? Absolutely not. History is full of corruption, cover-ups, covert operations, and institutions acting against public interests. But real conspiracies are usually boring. Financial incentives, political pressure, institutional incompetence, not orbital Hebrew death rays. Although admittedly, that would make for a significantly cooler documentary. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.